Hello friends, welcome back to another exciting video of Terraform series for the beginners. And in today's video, we are going to talk about one of the important topic called as Terraform modules. Before we take into a much deeper dive into this concept, I'm going to basically talk about something called as a drive principle, why we need Terraform modules, and what are the benefits of Terraform modules. And at last, we will be covering this with an example. So without much further delay, let's get into the drive principle. So what does this drive principle means? That is, do not repeat yourself. It is the principle that emphasizes the importance of avoiding the redundant code. It focuses on reusability and readability. In a very simpler terms, if you are into a software engineer world or a DevOps engineer world, database engineer world, SRE engineer world, or anything related to engineering, that that means the engineer should avoid to write the same code again and again rather than making sure write once and reuse multiple times. And that's what I'm going to explain you with a very simple example. So let's get into that. So I have so what I'm going to do here is I have a Unix file. Okay, and in Unix, I'm going to basically create a script for the database, okay, for application, for web, okay, and I want to use certain set of variables across these three scripts. Rather than declaring again and again those variables, I'm going to basically create a generic file where I'm going to club all those variables in that file, and I'm going to use that file across these three scripts, and that's what is a reusability function. So I'm going to create an env file, okay, say env.sh, and in that I'm going to declare database connection, um, say log file. Um, I have then uh, the file name. How would be the file name would look like of uh, the log? Then I would have something called as a date. Okay, I will also store the name of script, okay, using a base name, etc. That's what I'm going to declare in this file. And I'm going to basically, what I'm going to do is basically later on source this file, okay, using a source keyword. Okay, so what I've done is I basically avoid declaring these variables across DB, app, and web. And I've basically consolidated this into a single script and you source that script across all these three major scripts. So that's what I have done. And I have focused on the reusability function. Readability, it's very easy to understand that you need to go through only one script rather than going multiple scripts. Everything resides in one script, and that's what is the drive principle. Let's move to our why we need Terraform modules and the definition of the Terraform module. So Terraform module is the collection of Terraform configuration files that are grouped together to represent a specific unit of infrastructure. In other words, Terraform module allows you to group the resources together, reuse this group later on, possibly many times. In a very simple example, term, what I mean to say is tomorrow, if you want to create an EC2 instance, S3 bucket, VPC, subnet, etc., what I'm going to do is I'm going to create that in one module and group all those resources in that module. And later on, I will just call this module again and again in my multiple TF files, right? So that's what the module is. It's grouping the different resources. So say if you want to create resource for the AWS, Azure, Google, all you can group together and just call that as in a module and reuse that. Now, going to the benefits of the Terraform modules. The first one is code reduction. That means you're not writing the code or repeating the same code again and again. And it's basically reducing your efforts, right, of writing the same code again and again. The second point is scalability. Remember, in our example, I have declared the env.sh file and declare certain variables. Now, if I want to add any one more variable called has let's call has uh, the process path. Okay, for an example. So rather than declaring that variable process path in DB app or web, I'm going to basically declare that in env.sh and then I'm going to roll out that change. And now that variable is available in DB script, app script, web script. So that's what is the scalability. Human error. The normally when you copy paste some other when you copy paste the code from one file to another file, you might miss the you can encounter a syntax error or miss something which can abort your execution of the code or compiling of the code. Security and compliance. When you're working with on a bigger projects in bigger firms, you need to basically make sure you meet the standards of those to avoid the vulnerabilities and your code is secure and meeting all the compliance related stuff. So those are few of the benefits of Terraform modules or using modules in Terraform. So without much further delay, let's get into a depth of it by understanding a simple example. But before I get into that stuff, if you are new to this YouTube channel, do take some time to watch the playlist. I share my learning journey through this YouTube channel on DevOps tools like Git, Jenkins, Ansible, Linux shell scripting. Also, how can you pass the fundamental exam, associate level exam for AWS, Azure, GCP, etc. And if you find that this content has really helped you to level up your skills, then do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever I upload such videos. And at end, do not forget to comment it because your comments really motivates me to come up with such video. So without much further delay, let's get into the example of our module. So friends, before we get into the depth of understanding the modules, let's first understand the structure of module. So typically the module structure would look like a license where you have defined the terms of using this module. Then you will have a readme folder, okay, where you have defined about the project or what this module does in a very short term. And then you will have something called as main.tf file, okay. Then you have variables dot uh, variables.tf, okay. And lastly we will have something called as output, where you're basically outputting the variables of what you have used. So that's how the typical module structure is. And typically in the Terraform world, there is something called as a root module. Okay. Uh, and in the root module, you have the child modules, right? So that's what is typically the structure in Terraform for the module is. All right. So that's what um, is the structure, right? So let's go to the example to get a better understanding of how can we use the modules. So I have an environment, a dev environment. Okay, I have IST environment. I have UAT environment for my application. Okay, and I want to basically install the EC2 instance. Okay, and S3 uh, S3 bucket. So right now I have just three environments, so that means three servers, right? So it is easy to basically create a EC2 instance dot tf file and S3 bucket dot tf file and basically call the resources and put on all these three servers. But what happens tomorrow? Your manager comes and says, "Hey Dinesh, can you basically deploy the same infrastructure across 100 plus servers?" That's where the trickiness comes into the picture. You can't keep writing the same code again and again. And that's where the modules comes into picture, where you will be basically creating the EC2 module and S3 module and then call this module in on those three 100 servers, right? So you have basically avoiding writing the code for creating the EC2 instance and for the S3 bucket. And how can you call this module? All you need to do is give the name in that. And one more thing before we get into that, once you have created these modules, you can basically upload on your GitHub repository, or you can basically upload on the Terra HashiCorp registry so that anyone can use that. Why I'm saying this is tomorrow your team is using the infrastructure for EC2 and S3, and similar infrastructure is there which another team needs to create rather than they basically uh, writing the code for the similar infrastructure. All they can do is they can source your module, so that's where you have basically avoid the code reduction. Remember, uh, also the human error, right? And you can say and scalability also kind of thing, because now you are basically deploying the same code on 10 servers, 100 servers, 1,000 servers, right? So all they need to do is say the another team is basically wants to call your model. All they need to do is in their main.tf file, what they need to do is module, say for an example they call as a module ec2. Okay, and they are going to basically source your module, and the source path would be whatever, say A, B, C in your directory, and all they are going to do is modules slash EC2. And that's what they are going to do. And now they have basically avoid writing the code for EC2 instance for creating the EC2 instance, and they have basically reused the same code. And that's what the modules makes your life easier and goes on the drive principle, which is do not repeat yourself. So there are different types of modules available. When you go to HashiCorp registry modules, you can see the different modules for AWS, are there. S3 bucket is there, EKS is there, security group is there, Lambda is there. So that's how it has become easier to use the module again and again. And you can see here what this module is doing is it's basically module S3 bucket source, and someone has uploaded their the functionality of this module, right? So and you can also basically you can basically check the examples of also how to use the module and other stuff, what all outputs are there and other stuff. So that's how the modules makes your life easier, and um, avoid to write the same code again and again. Okay, he has declared the input file. You can see the input file is there. Then what is the usage, as I mentioned, right? So it has a module called S3 bucket. Source is this. The bucket name is my S3 bucket. And access control is private, bucket ownership and other stuff. And that's what he has also created the log storage on S3 bucket. So that's how this module makes your life easier to avoid writing the same code again and again, rather than using the module which someone has already created and go on with that. So that's an overview of the module, Terraform modules. How can you use and follow the drive principle of reusability and readability, right? So it's very easy to understand and other stuff. I hope this video was helpful and gave you an overview of uh, Terraform modules and how can you use the modules in your day-to-day projects or creating the infrastructure. If you have liked this video or found this video helpful, do share with your friends and do not forget to hit the like icon and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Until then, take care. Bye bye.